Hey Scrappers, it's Tom from the iScrap app, and wherever you're watching us this week, we welcome you to our weekly report, where you can learn about scrap metal prices, news, ask us questions about materials, or ask our advice on the markets. If you're looking to ask those questions, ask us whether it's live or after, and we'll always get you those answers. Come on in, let's go talk scrap.
Hey Scrappers, Tom from iScrap, and today is Wednesday, April 27th, 2022. I cannot believe that the fourth month of the year is going to be over in a matter of days. That means 1/3 of the year is already gone, and what a 4-month stretch that we've been on. I'm never going to wag my finger and tell you I told you so, but the markets are down, and we'll talk about that in a little while. We'll talk about the significance of why we do these weekly reports, and one of the major reasons is to alert you when the markets could be having downturns, and that's what we'll go into. But let's just talk about some of the markets over the last few days. We have been watching these markets really closely, and a lot of different economic news has impacted them, as it always does. Now, things that have impacted the markets for the last few days that I've been watching: China has had massive amounts of lockdowns. When lockdowns happen, people aren't driving their cars, trucks, things aren't being driven as often. When that happens, the fuel consumption will go down. As we saw the fuel consumption go down, we started to see the overall price of gas and oil come down last week. Now, in the last couple of days, we've now seen Russia start to tell multiple countries in Europe that they are no longer going to be providing them with natural gas or with crude oil because those countries refuse to pay Russia in rubles. Now, why are these things so important? Well, we have a lack of demand out of China, and because of that lack of demand of gas, we did see the prices starting to fall. But then we started to see pullback from Russia, from different countries, which means that fuel in Europe is going to become even more expensive than it already is, which is going to cause a little bit of an increase, which is exactly what we've seen, excuse me. Now, on top of all of this, because I haven't even talked about metal prices directly, we've seen the Federal Reserve talking about raising interest rates. Well, raising interest rates means that banks and borrowing entities are going to be paying more money on their different commercial or lines of credit and their loans. If they're paying more money on these things, that means that the banks will be making more money, but you're going to need to make more money to offset the additional interest charges that you're having. So these are all things that have caused the stock market to have one day of almost 1,000 points lost. Yesterday, Tuesday the 26th, we saw 800 points lost. We did see a comeback today, but that doesn't really reflect where we are, which is in an unstable and really an insecure market. And that leads me, kind of to the why you tune in. I watch these markets. As a scrapyard owner, I tell everyone that 90% of the material that I own has a 2 to 3 day material turnover. That way, with really big increases, I might not get the extra money, but I don't lose out when we have really big decreases, which is exactly what we've had in the last few days. Copper prices were trading up at $4.81 last Wednesday, I believe, and today we're down to $4.45. So that's 36 cents off in a matter of days. We actually saw 3 consecutive days with 8 to 12 cent losses. On top of that, the oil prices have really disrupted things. But one of the things that I talked about, and I know that I sounded like a little bit of a broken record the last few weeks, but steel prices were really high. When you see light iron prices, $230, $240, $270, $290, $310 per ton, and sometimes higher, those prices are not regular prices. You see really quick run-ups, and one of the reasons you see the run-up in prices is because different steel mills, exporting markets, local domestic mills have an oversupply of material coming in. They see problems around the world like we just talked about, and these are all factors that lead to prices decreasing. Now, one of the things that I really keyed in on out of China was that if people are staying home working, that means many of the goods and services that are provided that need metal to be able to put an output of product aren't consuming those metals. That's another reason we saw the price dipping down. That's what happened during COVID. You had all of these people sitting at home, not working. So these raw materials that had to be recycled at steel mills, at copper mills, they weren't being done nearly as quick. So that was one of the reasons that prices went down. They weren't being done nearly as quick because they weren't being used nearly as quick. So with the run up that we've seen over the last 6 or 7 months, with materials really going in and out so quick, now seeing a little bit of a pullback. And I don't think the recessionary word that's been thrown out there is something that I'm super caught up in right now. Maybe the third and fourth quarters of this year, I'll pay a little closer attention to it. But forecasting things 6 to 12 months out almost seems a little silly when you have so many economic and political factors that can affect things from now until then. But we're watching these markets, and copper still is very strong. I still recommend selling your higher grades of copper. Sure, the markets might be down 30 or 40 cents, but you're still looking at prices that are really, really high. Stainless steel continuing to blossom with 304 stainless in the 75 to 80 cent range. Nickel prices continuing to flourish. We've even seen some 304 stainless prices, which is your basic grade of stainless, in the 92 to 95 cent range for reported prices. So those reported prices are awesome. Now, in the next week or so, through our YouTube channel, you're going to see a couple of videos coming out. Some of them are just basic, videos of a scrapyard, top materials that we buy. If there's any videos that you see on there or any thoughts that trigger something that we can make for you, please let us know so we can put some videos together and teach you more about the markets, how to sort and separate your materials in a better fashion. Now, aluminum prices have not really been impacted over the last week and a half, 2 weeks. That's really good, with aluminum prices still very, very strong, and the demand there for the foreseeable future, with so many electric vehicles consuming aluminum as part of their frames and doors and windshields. Not windshields, hoods. A lot of these things, if it was an aluminum windshield, that would not be very good. It better be a fully autonomous car, because if you can't see out of it, we have more problems. But we have seen strong markets there. Now, on the catalytic converters, we have seen pullbacks because they started 2 weeks ago. We talked about it. That's why having 10 days of locked in prices through rrcats.com becomes more and more important. By locking prices in the day that you get a quote, you have 10 days just to ship that catalytic converter or catalytic converters out. Having prices held, no one does that very often, especially when it comes to scrap. I mean, we buy and sell copper at Rockaway Recycling, and we don't hold copper prices for customers in more than a day or two because the markets change so quickly. So the palladium, platinum, and rhodium numbers, yes, they're down, but we still have very strong prices on cats, with national averages over $180 for OEM units. That's still an item we recommend selling. When it comes to steel, things like light iron and shred, those are going to be items I almost exclusively will have the sell button on because they're big, they're bulky. Yes, you can make money on them, but the more you touch these items, the higher chance you have of getting hurt, or touching them more than 2 or 3 times means you're making less money. So as you get steel, light iron, shredding material on your different trucks, trailers, dumping trailers, get it out as quickly as you get it in. If you want to hold on to anything, things like heavier grades of number 1 or rotors might be something to hold on to, as I do expect the gasoline and oil prices to have an uptick as we get closer to Memorial Day, and we do expect to see a rebound in the steel market, probably not in May, but in June we won't be surprised to see those markets up $30 to $40 a ton from where they are now. Now, again, there is no I told you so's, because one of the primary things that we try to do is teach you about what's going on with the markets, tell you about our experience and our knowledge, and share different experiences that we have and different pieces of information that we've learned about week over week to give you a more clear picture of the markets. But if you have the iScrap app on your iPhone or your Droid, please continue to use it. Whether you're posting prices, getting catalytic converter prices, or contacting scrap yards to learn about their operations. We'd love to hear how you use the iScrap app, and you'll be able to see a video on YouTube in the coming weeks talking about how and why the iScrap came into fruition. Scrappers, this is Tom from the iScrap app. Today is Wednesday, April 27th, 2022, and until next week, I'll scrap you later.
Thanks for checking out our scrap videos. By becoming a Patreon supporter today, you'll be entered into monthly giveaways for tools and other products to help you make more money with your scrap.